Aliona said something that I've been trying to say all day. I cannot see the public, so if someone will raise their hand, just yell it out. I have a question, okay? We have a lot of questions. I will dive right into it because we want to make sure we're good on time. And first, I have a question for Pavel. You've worked extensively on electronic customer due diligence frameworks across multiple countries. In your view, what are the most pressing compliance challenges that payment sector faces today, and how can innovative regulatory approaches help address these challenges while promoting growth and innovation?
First of all, thank you so much for having me. It's a great pleasure to be here. Not the first time in Chisinau. I can, list you the number of European regulations we challenge, like PSD2, PSD3, PS3, PSR, MiCA, MiFID, etc., etc., etc. And for different financial institutions, different regulations are actually in challenge. But I think we need to step back and actually think about why they're a challenge, and more of a challenge than it was 7 or 10 years before. And I think the main problem is that we are still trying to find a balance, and this is a very intricate balance, to regulate financial services and payments in particular as social service and at the same time as a business. We saw these discrepancies when the Payment Accounts Directive in the European Union was adopted, guaranteeing every legal resident in the EU a right to access payment account. And then we saw, surprisingly, that AML-CFT directive actually contradicts one, because financial institutions should have a right, according to risk-based approach, to choose who are their clients based on their background. A few days ago, FCA in the United Kingdom published guidance to the banks, highlighting the right of the banks to stop instant transactions for up to 72 hours in case of suspicion of fraud. I remember times, and I'm pretty sure everyone on this panel remembers as well, when all transactions were T+3 or T+2. And then we were so excited when instant payment systems appeared. And it's great innovation, I completely agree with this. And now, unfortunately, we're getting back to T+3 because of suspicious transactions. And we are encouraging banks, unfortunately, to flag suspicious because they're finally liable for social engineering as well, which is, significant regulatory challenge. And second thing, in terms of regulatory approaches and innovative regulatory approaches, I think we are having more and more trouble in terms of how we interpret regulations. I was in Romania in June, and one of the regulators from the Balkans, they said, we are working on interpreting DORA, which is very much like interpreting Bible. No one really knows what is written there. Can anyone read it? I mean, if less people can read it, that's better for me because I'm getting paid better as a consultant. But I think we need to step back at some point and to think about how we regulate and how we make regulations to make them clear, transparent, and understandable. And that is what we do at AFC. We are trying to translate business requirements into regulations and then also translate regulations into business requirements, bringing together both parts of the story.
Thank you, Pavel. I'll just be going through each of you, and then maybe we can have time for a discussion where you can add something. Aliona, at MISRA, we've all seen today, and we all know that you've been at the forefront of digital retail banking services. What has been your approach, because digitalization is so fast-paced, and we saw today, you have to have constant updates with everything that you do, stemming from products and all the way to budgets for CTOs. What strategies have proven most effective in you staying ahead of the industry trends and customer needs?
Hello, all. Happy to be here today. During last hour, I had a lot of information regarding risk and compliance. That's why probably I will bring a little bit of another perspective. There is a good news. We don't have in the bank 5 core systems. This helps us a lot. It was very funny to hear that somebody can deal and still do business having 5 systems. But going back to MISRA, probably what I'm going to say will not be very new for everybody in the room, because rules are more or less the same. We know exactly that in order to be on top and to be still, how to say, that clients select you, you need to consider what clients want. So to know your customer, to keep in mind that the product and the service should be brought closer to the customer, not to the bank employees think about the product. This is the first part. The second one is approach to innovation. In the bank, we went through a very deep agile transformation. Now innovation is not done by, the boss of the boss is thinking that maybe we need to do something. Our team very close to clients and very close to market trends, and they innovate a lot now. Also, it's very important that our teams are not competing with only local companies and not only with the banks. They are competing internationally and they are competing with the best in the class. Sometimes we hear that some services, they are looking, for example, at experience of Netflix or BMW or a lot of fintechs. So this is a very important part of approach to innovation. Another issue which we feel in MISRA is that we are creating a lot of partnerships. And we are partnering highly now with a lot of fintech companies and not only financial. We are partnering with a lot of acquirers and a lot of different companies in order to create seamless experience for our customers. And probably the last, but not the least, is that we are not creating barriers. We are creating possibilities for our customers. When a new technology appears, we encourage it to come. Not creating that we invested something else before, that's why we will not accept the technology. No, we are inviting and we are making it more and more accessible to our customer. Probably these are the most important parts we accepted and approved in MISRA while developing technology.
Indeed, especially with us customers having constant requests. Or if you see or you read about a product in a different country and you check your bank and it doesn't have it, you're like, why is this happening? I want to have this. So it's very important, like you said, to not look at what was done before, but think of what can and should happen in the future. Catalina, given Moldova's aspirations for closer integration with the EU, how does our country's current regulatory framework for payments align with the EU directives? And in what areas do you see the greatest need for further alignment or modernization to enhance Moldova's competitiveness?
Thank you for the question. Hello, everyone. Happy to be here and happy to be together with the esteemed speaker on this stage. While my part of the speech might seem the most boring one because I'm going to speak about laws and regulations, it's important to know that just yesterday, Ms. Ursula von der Leyen, being in Chisinau, mentioned about the fact that announced the access for the Republic of Moldova to the single payment area in the EU quickly and without high fees. Of course, the European integration is priority number one for Moldova at the moment and most probably for the next 10 to 15 years. This accession means that we, of course, need to transpose the EU acquis and, of course, need to align with the EU regulation in the fields. This alignment is crucial to foster a competitive, efficient, and secure payment ecosystem. So, speaking about concrete regulations that we already implemented or are going to transpose and implement in Moldova, we must mention that Moldova already implemented and made significant progress in implementing the Payment Service Directive 2, ensuring full compliance with the provisions of the directive is today also is a very essential process that needs to be completed. Also, it's important to know that this year in June 2024, the European Commission published the proposal of a third Payment Service Directive and the proposal for the Payment Service Regulation. So we need to keep that in mind and already start to plan the process of aligning the national legislation and the implementation itself of the directive. Of course, Moldova should prioritize the cross-border payments, and this was already discussed today extensively. And speaking about the legal part, of course, it involves aligning with EU regulations such as the regulation on cross-border payment service services, and the regulation on instant payments, which entered in force this year in April, if I remember well. So, of course, we are speaking and working a lot on transposing also the directives and the EU regulation that relate to e-money and payment institutions, anti-money laundering and counter-financing of terrorism. But the last but not least, this is the protection of the customer data. So the GDPR directive, which was also implemented or adopted by the parliament this year, transposed in Moldova. This means that the customer has the trust in payment institutions in Moldova, and our market is a trusted one. So this is a very quick overview of the EU regulation that still needs to be transposed in Moldova, and a lot of effort is involved in this process.
I'm actively involved in another directive that covers the audiovisual sector, and just from the amount of institutions that need to be involved, that might or might not be friends with each other, that might or might not understand what they're talking about, that have to be involved just to take a document that already exists and copy and paste it into your own legislation is staggering. So from something that I didn't understand before, where it's like, oh yeah, they already gave us the directive, we just have to change the law, that's fine. It's easy. They said, we might need a year for that.
Year is very, a short term.
And that's very, very optimistically looking at it. So as someone that is working on this, I understand and thank you. Cristian, you are a part of MIA, and we've seen today how big of a success it is. What's the future plans of it? And taking into account everything that we've seen today, how else do you see it could contribute to the broader development of Moldova's financial ecosystem?
Thank you for having me today here. I was actually part of the big team that was involved in implementing MIA. At some point, I think we were like 200 people involved in this project. And we at the USAID MISRA are very glad to be the supporting project that helped National Bank of Moldova to launch the MIA instant payment system. I think this is the perfect example of interaction between an authority or a local beneficiary and an international support organization, where the authority had all the skin in the game. They had a great project idea. They had a lot of resources involved, and we came with the necessary support and assistance in areas where they either lacked experience or lacked resources or time to do. And we, together with the market and with the National Bank of Moldova, with the other authorities, and with the USAID support, we managed to deliver this great product that can now be seen in our banking apps. And as Eugene said, my colleague, we see very great potential in this instant payment system, and we will not stop on the launching of the system. We think that payments are not an objective on themselves. They are an instrument to build economic growth. They are a tool for building bigger things. So we want MIA to become a building ground for the new digital solutions, maybe with the embedded finance in them. I want to see accounting solutions that would issue a request to pay together with the invoice. I want to see e-commerce platforms that offer very convenient ways for paying, and not only for paying, but also for return of products and getting your money right away. So as you already know, open banking is also coming to Moldova, and I think open banking and instant payments go really well together. As NBM representative said, from February 2025 we will have open banking, And I think this combination and this partnership between open banking solution, instant payments, and other digital solutions that are to come will bring very new and very beautiful things to the financial ecosystem of Moldova. Basically, I think that any human interaction that requires a payment can be enhanced with either instant payments or open banking, or with these together.
Thank you, Cristian. Gary, I really would have loved to listen to your presentation for 30 more minutes, because it felt like you were just getting to the gist of it, and then we had to cut you off with the timer that we see on the screen. If you could dive deeper and maybe cover Moldova, since we're working on cross-border transactions. What innovations do we need here, or how can we improve the efficiency right from the start when we start doing this, the proper way, the way it's done in multiple other countries that are already using, even Payall services?
I mean, frankly, I think what Moldova's done has been amazing. I don't really have any specific suggestions. You should be very proud of how quickly you've innovated and brought this to market. It's really extraordinary. My view, and this is not about Moldova, but many countries around the world, where there's an unfair, overarching, again, this is not about Moldova, but a negative orientation towards someone, toward a country, because of a bad actor in a country. And suddenly, the financial task force says they're a gray country or a high-risk country. And I find that terribly unfair. And I think that problem, what our approach is that it is the outside world that has tagged that country as being high risk is doing so because they don't have the right software to understand that the risk inside the country is isolated, and that if they had better tools, they could themselves deal with the risk and not cause the entire economy of a country and all of its citizens who are counting on remittances. I mean, there are a dozen different use cases where cross-border payments are essential to a country, and one or two bad actors cause a country to get in a bad spot, and they're switched off for a couple of years, and the economy suffers and people suffer. This deeply offends me. And I am the guy who's pounding the table with the Federal Reserve and the FDIC and others saying, you can't do this to countries. It's just wrong. Just because the American correspondent bank has crappy software and doesn't know how to manage risk beyond what shows up at their doorstep, let's fix that. So I think what Moldova's done has been exceptional, and I would love to see it continue to flourish. We'd love to be a part of it. We've got some ideas. But I'd like to elevate the conversation to other parts of the world that need help, that can't be isolated, because what you went through where you had such a difficult time finding correspondent banks and making cross-border payments, it's a real challenge. And I don't like to see that happen to any country.
But yeah, I might be a bit wrong here, but since Moldova is still so dependent on remittances, and this kind of financial discrimination, if I can call it, that applies to a whole country is limiting, especially since, first of all, it encourages cash payments, illegal, gray markets, gray economy, and when you're trying to work really hard on bringing this all up, it's being very punishing indeed for the entire country because someone did a bad thing once.
The solution is systemic transparency. That has to be our North Star. That at a central bank, that you have transparency to what the details of the customer payments going out of a country and coming into a country. If you have transparency, you then can have, and then you have to have the right software to analyze that transparency and assess the risk. The reality is that at central banks around the world and at banks around the world, this software doesn't exist. And so we wind up in a case where there are a lot of human beings executing a lot of manual processes, and it's slowing payments down and it's causing people to suffer. So, I mean, at a global level, at a micro level, these things have to be sorted out. Underneath of that, what happens then is the citizens of a country, whether it's Moldova or anywhere else, if they feel like they're connected to the rest of the world and they can sell goods or the services they provide can be efficiently delivered and they can get paid in a timely fashion, then you're going to elevate the economy. So payments are a central part of economic growth in any country. We fail to realize the significance of remittances and SME payments as being a foundational driver, along with education, along with industrial development, to getting a country to another level of maturity. So these things are interconnected. But if you don't have transparency, you don't have trust. And at a payment level, at a risk management level, it starts with transparency.
I mean, hey, to this day, I regret not having Amazon in Moldova. I remember loving having Amazon and the fact that anybody could become a vendor on it if you were there. And here you have to order through third-party websites and pay fees all along the way just to get to buy a product, let alone sell it. Aliona, back to you. Since we see this trend of the payment industry becoming more customer-centric, let's dive deeper into how exactly maib is customer-centric, because we've spoken about this 2 days before. Everybody is customer-centric, right? It's like saying you're the best on the market, but let's explain how exactly maib is more customer-centric and why personalization in delivering payment services is important to meet the evolving needs of the users.
Thank you, Alex. Now I will speak also about risk, probably. First of all, I want to say that we believe that in order to personalize payment experience of customers, it's important to split into parts. Do you think it's better this one? Okay. There is a commercial side when we speak about what kind of services, what kind of tariffs, what kind of fees we have there. And yes, in that case works our data. When we talk to the customer, in the moment they need, based on language, they understand, and we come in their way when they need us. This is one part, and I will come to it later. There is another part which Gary is talking today a lot about that, and I want to recall that yes, at the global level we need data and we need infrastructure, but locally it's the same, and sometimes inside the same unit, the same bank, it's very important to be able to put data together in order not to punish good ones because some bad experience bank had with frauds or something else. That's why now we are working hardly on implementing anti-fraud system, which will permit us to personalize experience when fraud can occur in order to ensure that we will not create the systems when a lot of clients will go through a lot of pain points just because we try as much as possible to help those which are under the risk of fraud. These systems probably will become one of the main direction of development, not only in our bank, but I suppose in almost all of our banks, because I talked previously with, even with regulator, and this is a big concern, even including MIA, for example, in our systems. It's important to understand how we are going to control the risks. And if based only on limit, at some point this could be a little bit not very comfortable to clients. Going back to business, because I like to speak more about business in my role. Some days before we published that we are going to embrace the path of AI strategy. So in the bank we are going now together with our partner, MasterCard, we are going in a project on implementing AI. We know exactly that we are going to apply when we speak about payments, first of all, and the second when we speak about support of clients in case when they make payments or other banking services. Probably this is not a new trend because everybody knows about that, everybody speaks about that, but the way how we are doing it's very different probably from bank to bank. What we know exactly that we are now looking how to do it better based on the data we have and how to communicate with our clients. Because having AI and speaking by SMS and push notifications probably is not the best we can do. So now we are looking on platforms and on the way how we are going to deliver targeting communication with our clients in the moment when they need us. So if to summarize, it's commercial personalization on which we are working, it's risk personalization, and the last one, which is new in the bank and going to be implemented, it's AI strategy.
Speaking of AI, would you, as a bank, go for an in-house developed AI, or would you go with third party?
For now, we are examining internal resources, and we are going to create the governance and the infrastructure necessary inside. Of course, usually when you go in partnership with somebody, we speak more about consultancy part because we love to bring in Moldova technology and to bring knowledge. That's why we are doing with the best in class, and now we found that working with MasterCard probably is one of the best we can do. But later we will see. On some areas, we are still thinking about that if it's maybe more easy to bring something ready. But for the moment, we are going internally. It's great to create capacity, in fact, going back internally. In Moldova, we do not have people with such capabilities. We do not have knowledge. But we believe that we can create it. And it will be very pity if we fail to do that in Moldova, not as a bank, but as Moldova. And we are ready, because we know we have talents, we have capacity to do that, so we will try to do it internally.
Like you said, when you were doing research, you were looking at other companies like Netflix, and you can imagine maib in 10 years being an AI for banking company as another service that you're offering.
Depending on how deep we want to do it, but definitely not in 10 years earlier it will be, because in 10 years, who knows what will be. Every morning we wake up in a new world. 10 years, it's too much now.
Pavel, going back to instant payment systems, they're touted as the key driver for financial inclusion, particularly in developing markets such as ourselves. What role do you see them playing in enhancing access to financial services for underserved populations? And how can regulators support their wider adoption? I know we've had I think it's still ongoing, a whole campaign in promoting cashless, electronic transfers and payments. How can we make it better?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I would agree that you're not developing market, you're a rather developed market already, judging from the quality of the services in the financial sector as well. I mean, there is an ongoing academic debate on whether there is any impact of policies or international help in promoting cashless. Some people tell that, it will be gradually anywhere. So it will happen. It's like a train which is going down the track and we will go cashless. Some will go in 3 years, some in 15. Doesn't really matter. Other people claim, and some of them, we are claiming that however we can improve this process. And I like the statement that, payments are not the goal in itself. They support the whole framework and infrastructure. And now with those things, what we are thinking about, not only financially excluded in a traditional way as unbanked people who never open bank account, this is not the case for Moldova, but however, the limited usability and usage of financial services. I will give you just one example from open banking, since we are talking about open banking. We talked with the National Bank yesterday, and we give one example. So let's say, I don't want to have local banks as an example. I'm very sorry, so not to create tension, all right? Gary, you have a bank account, right? Yep. Yes, you're financially included. And you have mobile application of the bank, right? So when you went to buy, this suit, for example, which is a very beautiful one, how many suits were there in the store? 10, 100? Lots of colors, right? Lots of sizes. Because people are different. There are men and women, there are people who are thin, who are, tall, who are shorter a little bit, etc. You have a choice. When you go to the bank, how many applications do they have at the store?
They're not very personalized.
They're not personalized. And we have one, maybe two. So how about this kind of personalization, right? And we do not expect definitely banks to create 100 applications for everyone. That's why we're promoting open banking, to ensure that third-party providers can actually develop those different interfaces for men and women, for people who live in the capital and people who live in rural areas, people with disabilities who we often forget about, right? For people who are living outside Moldova, however, they want to contribute to the local economy by investing, for example, getting a loan, making deposits, etc., etc. This is why we are promoting these new regulatory approaches to actually go through simple approaches like agent banking or basic accounts to more usability and to making them not only for business but for the regulatory perspective as well, to give people real choice as we have on other markets. If we have so many suits, why financial sector is different? It's not different. So we definitely can make it as variable, as varied as possible. Yeah, please.
Only one comment. App probably it's not a suit, it's a shop. With small difference, but anyway.
Sorry, it's a shop. You mean in a suit?
Because the suit probably it's one product inside the app, which is already somehow customized. But the apps usually much broader than only one product, and probably here customization wants already what kind of bank you want, and then you apply for that app or not. Just
True. It's more complicated, obviously, than that. But we can go further in making more personalized. And I completely agree with you in your efforts that you're doing. Yeah.
Fully agree with open banking. We really believe that this could be a new development which will help customers to be free in managing their finances. So yes, I agree with you.
Yeah, we're actually supporting the Open Banking Working Group together with the National Bank and the private sector. If the bank wants to participate actively, we will be super happy to promote together. Cool.
We even have a team for that, so it's
Great,
okay.
super.
We can do that.
Yes,
There's a deal happening right here. Catalina, cross-border transactions, especially giving our diaspora, I mentioned it before, plays a significant role in the country's economy. People make transfers, Western Union or bank to bank or cash through buses. There's different ways of doing these cross-border transactions. But how can our government work more effectively with the private sector to enhance the security, the speed, the efficiency, and the transparency of cross-border payments, ensuring that the system remains robust, as our volume will probably increase?
Very interesting question, I should mention, and I couldn't say better than Gary said. The payments, they have a very big role in the country's economy, and in our case, in Moldova's case, the diaspora's money that are sent back home, they have a big part of our budget. So we definitely should think more about how we can make them secure and more easy for people to send their money back home to their relatives, right? And of course, I may not say something new for everyone in this room, but I believe that promoting the diversity and promoting the competitiveness in the market is one of the key in this aspect. I know, to my knowledge, many startups or tech companies or SMEs from Moldova, they decide to keep their accounts or to register their companies in countries in EU, like Estonia or other countries, or in US, because it's much easier for them to have these cross-border transactions, right, and much cheaper. So this is one of the problem and issues that the government is putting much effort in. We are having constant discussions with different international payment service providers. And of course, the partnership with the private sector here is very important too, because, of course, they do not see the Moldovan market at the moment as a potential one, and we all in this room know the reasons why. But this has to be a very transparent relationship and a very consistent one, right? And then I cannot mention the digital and literacy in general and financial literacy specifically. We still have people that when they get their salaries, it happened to me, honestly. Some time ago, I was at a bank in Moldova and waiting for my turn to go to the cashier, yes, and one old man, he was staying right next to me and very kind, he was saying to me that he went there to withdraw all his salary because he do not trust these cards and these ATMs, I do not trust them, so he keeps those money in at home. Of course, we are discussing about cashless economy in 3 years or 10 years, right? But we still need to invest in financial and digital literacy to keep those customers and to educate them on how they should spend their money cashless. Of course, as Pavel also mentioned, the transparency and of the regulatory framework and making it in such a way to be very easy interpretable, right? Not to interpret it as a Bible. So it seems like we know what to do at the government level. Of course, there is...
Do it.
Yes, we just have to do it, right? But this is a process, an ongoing process that is, you know, it's taking time, and the partnerships with the private companies and with the private sector, it's very important in this regard.
I mean, hey, I am never carrying even a single leu on me for maybe a year now. I don't go to businesses that don't take card payments or phone payments. And my mom is also a person that goes to the ATM and takes all of her money out. When she asks me to, you know, give her some money, I do bank-to-bank transactions. She goes to the bank and pulls out the money because I'm like, why don't you put it on your phone? What if they steal my phone? It still needs your face and your PIN code to do that. But so, like, I'm personally confronting with this problem where I'm trying to explain to my mom how this is much easier and probably more trustworthy than having a bag full of money when you're walking home and you're older, that someone can, you know, hit you on the head and take your money. But it still doesn't, she still doesn't acknowledge it. At least I think I'm a few years away from having her put a card on her phone. So maybe while the reforms are being implemented, this will be my personal success.
We have some tips who can help you.
Is there like a flyer?
We know how to work with this type of client, so we can help you.
Perfect. We'll talk about this later. Cristian, as MISRA's focus, or one of them, is on financial sector reforms here in Moldova. What initiatives, other initiatives are currently involved in to facilitate cross-border financial flows?
Indeed, at MISRA, at USAID MISRA, one of our main objectives is helping Moldova integrate into international financial markets. And actually one of our first activities or attempts was to help Minister of Finance issue an Eurobond, because we believe that this is the benchmark for any country success, and that would bring the most integration of Moldova in the international financial market. As Minister Alaiba previously said, an Eurobond is like the best economic ambassador you can have. The Eurobond yield shows in real time whether the country is going in the right direction. So we are still committed to this activity. We believe that Moldova needs to be active on the international financial markets, and that would be the first step. With our European integration, our businesses are starting to deal more with the European businesses, despite us not having yet the free movement of capital, goods, services. These dealings are increasing every year. So I think one of the main objectives of the financial market is to provide the businesses with the most appropriate and most convenient pathways for these transactions with the European businesses. And that means that one of the other activity that is very important for us is helping the market to integrate into the European payments area, I mean the single euro payments area. NBM, the National Bank, already did their job. They did their first step, but there is a second step to that. After we become part of the geographical area, and I say after, not if, the market has to do their job to find the right connections, to find the clearing and settlement mechanisms, to become part of the single euro payments area schemes. So we are trying to bring this know-how in the market and to help the market to better organize themselves and to be prepared for this second step after we get the decision from EPC. Open banking is also not too far, so we try to bring the best know-how on open banking API standard from the Berlin Group. As you already may know, the Berlin Group API standard for open banking and now open finance is the most used one in European Union, and not only. So we believe that it is wise for our local financial institutions to use the same standard. That will allow them to be already prepared for the integration with the European payment infrastructure, and that will also allow for a more seamless integration with European third parties. So we believe that there is place to come with some adjustments, but the Berlin Group standard is the way to go. And I think the banks are already doing great efforts in this area, and they are nearly there to implement this standard, and I can't wait to see the solutions that are about to come. We hope to also help the market to bring faster these solutions to the customers. Basically, these are the main activities that are focused on cross-border or are somewhat related to the cross-border interactions. All these activities together need a lot of dedication, not only from us as an international development organization or the authority as NBM. It needs a lot of effort and dedication from the market side, because without the products themselves, nothing will happen. Nothing will change exactly. So if you have the regulation in place, you have the infrastructure in place, without a product that works, nobody will notice any difference.
Thank you. And Gary, the last question is for you. We spoke about financial discrimination when it comes to countries or banks when you were doing it about your presentation, how a bank from Brazil is having trouble with the correspondent bank in the US. But what if we target specific sectors or even underprivileged populations? How do you see Payall or other fintechs expanding access to payments and financial services for those who need it most?
Let me just give one very specific kind of concrete example, because I think it's helpful to do that. One of the options we give financial institutions, and by the way, these aren't our products. We provide technology to central banks, regulators, banks, and people create products. But one of the capabilities is that an originating bank, let's imagine that you own a marketplace in Moldova, and you have sellers from across Moldova as well as maybe from Ukraine or from Romania or other countries, and you run a marketplace. And they're selling a lot of things on your marketplace, but now you got to give them their money, you got to pay them. Well, if you're running the marketplace and you've got a bank account, and you say, okay, now I've got to pay all these people, so I now have to collect their personal details and bank details and type them into a bank's website to do that. I'm kind of walking you through the very mechanical, real-world process. But some of the folks may not have a bank account that have sold stuff. Some may not want a bank account. Some may prefer mobile money. Some may prefer cash. And as the guy running the marketplace, do you really want to be subjected to the time, the cost, the hassles of collecting all those bank account details, as well as collecting those personal details, and then you're at risk. You're holding my bank account number. If I'm one of the sellers from Ukraine, you're on this commercial system that's really probably not very protected. And you've got some employee manually entering into the bank's website, making mistakes. These are real world. This is how the world operates. We live in a box sometimes and don't think of it that way. So what we've said as a part of our tech is, listen, if you're a bank, say to your customer, just give us their name, their email, and their phone number and pay them that way. And so now you run the marketplace, you've got 5,000 sellers, you upload an Excel spreadsheet or through an API, say, all I know is their name, their email, and their phone number, and I need to give this guy this much money, and this guy that much money, and this one that much money. Our system then takes care of the rest on behalf of the FI, and through a highly secure mechanism together with the customer, the recipient now knows they've been paid from the marketplace. And now they register, they provide KYC details, and they decide how they want to get paid. And in many instances, they can choose to have the funds sent to their bank account, but they're uploading their bank account details. They're uploading their mobile money account. They're uploading their mobile wallet. Or maybe you've given them for the first time ever a digital wallet from the bank in Moldova. So you've taken someone who was unbanked, who was afraid of being banked, but now they've had such a cool experience getting paid by the marketplace, and they were paid in a digital wallet, that you've brought them, taken a baby step into the financial world. This is just one example, but there are a dozen use cases where technology, together with a creative bank, thinking about the real user experience from A to Z, can take steps in bringing those who are outside of the financial world inside the financial world.
Thank you very much. We are exactly on time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending our panel. Thank you for your insightful answers. And anyone here, I know you, if there's anyone here that wants a Q&A session, you can probably approach any one of them and ask your questions. Now it's lunchtime, and we'll see you in 1 hour.